What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler and can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Wednesday, August 19th. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, kicking things off with the bad news as outfielder Victor Mesa Jr. was placed on the 10-day IL with a hamstring strain. The timeline for Mesa Jr.'s return is unclear, though he's been an integral part of the Rays lineup this year as he sort of had a breakout campaign as a rookie, though it's been a pretty quiet breakout. There was a time where it seemed like he'd be a failed prospect, but he seems to have figured things out with the Rays. That's Victor Mesa Jr. to the IL with a hamstring strain. Outfielder Ryan Valade should take over full-time in right field to replace Mesa, and catcher Kenny Piper was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move. He'll be the Rays' third catcher for the time being. Next, first baseman Jorge Polanco was placed on the 10-day IL with ankle bursitis, and to treat that bursitis, Polanco will undergo season-ending surgery. So Jorge Polanco, who missed most of the year with an injury, I'm pretty sure it was the same injury, returned, performed terribly, and now he'll undergo season-ending surgery. It's a lost season for Polanco in his first year with the Mets. Catcher Francisco Alvarez will now see more time at DH, allowing Luis Torrens to get into the lineup behind the plate more often. Brett Beatty should also see more playing time, either filling in for others that will be shifting to DH or being the DH himself. First baseman Eric Wagaman was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, and he'll be a bench bat for the Mets. Lastly, first baseman Rhys Hoskins was placed on the 10-day IL with back inflammation. Hoskins is likely due for a minimum stint. It doesn't seem to be that severe of an injury. Outfielder David Fry was recalled for the minors in a corresponding move, and he'll take over for Hoskins on the short side of a first base platoon in Cleveland. In terms of transactions, starting pitcher Matt Tugboat Wilkinson had his contract selected from the minors to make his MLB debut in Cleveland, his former team from which he was traded to the Giants in exchange for Patrick Bailey earlier this year, tossing 2 innings, allowing just 1 hit with no earned runs, no walks, and no strikeouts. He induced no whiffs with 12% CSW across 25 pitches. And Tugboat Wilkinson featured a low arm slot that released a 90-mile-per-hour four-seamer, which did have elite 7 feet of extension and elite Hava as well. I think it was 1.6 with 2-plane movement on the fastball, but it wasn't an overwhelming pitch as it didn't have a lot of IVB or a lot of velocity. He also had an 83-mile-per-hour changeup that he did not command well, and an 80-mile-per-hour slider, which he used versus left-handed batters, as well as an 83-mile-per-hour cutter that he threw just once. It's not an arsenal that screams MLB dominance, and we'll see if Tugboat ever gets a chance to start this year for the Giants. Reliever Reaver San Martin was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. Next, starting pitcher Ethan Pecco had his contract selected from the minors to make his MLB debut versus the Angels for the Astros. Pecco tossed 3 2/3 innings, allowing 3 hits and 2 earned runs, walking 3 while striking out 4. He induced 12 whiffs with 24% CSW across 89 pitches, and Pecco displayed a deep arsenal, but it did not have a standout offering. Right-handed batters got sinkers and sweepers with some high four-seamers, while left-handed batters got high four-seamers mixed with cutters, while changeups and curveballs looked to land low against those left-handed hitters. Sinkers performed the best, and they actually did pretty well with 6 whiffs, 44% CSW, and 78% strikes, but everything else was not commanded well, combining for just 45% strikes. Pecco could make it work if his command is better when not affected by this debut adrenaline, but either way, I'm avoiding him in the Bronx next. Reliever Miguel Ulola was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. Next, we have starting pitcher Jeffrey Springs, who was activated from the 15-day IL to start in Kansas City. He missed the minimum time with hip discomfort and returned to toss 5 2/3 innings with 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, and just 1 strikeout. He induced 6 whiffs with 26% CSW across 85 pitches, and Springs' velocity was down, and the vert that made him somewhat interesting earlier in the year has completely disappeared. It's below 16 inches now, and his signature changeup went sub 20% CSW. So really the only thing keeping Springs alive here was 65% weak contact, which helped him return 15 outs on 19 balls in play. I am not a believer in Jeffrey Springs, even when he's pitching on the road, but especially not when he's pitching in Sacramento, and I'm avoiding Springs when he hosts the Twins next. Reliever Seth Johnson was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. Next, shortstop Cooper Pratt was activated from the 10-day IL after missing the minimum time with a hamstring strain. Pratt will reclaim everyday shortstop duties in Milwaukee, pushing Joey Ortiz to third base, where he could split some time with David Hamilton. Outfielder Brandon Lockridge was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. And lastly, catcher Samuel Basallo was activated from the 10-day IL after missing about 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe, with shoulder inflammation. Basallo will return to being the Orioles' everyday catcher, a title that he will claim with Adley Rutschman now playing for the Boston Red Sox. Basallo could see time at DH as well to allow their two other catchers to get into the game. That's Carlos Narvaez, and I think Yohel Pozo is the other one. The corresponding move was second baseman Jeremiah Jackson being optioned to the minors. He'd been seeing a lot of time at second base this year with Jackson Holiday dealing with injuries and underperformance, but Holiday's actually been pretty good in the second half, and he's been somebody that I've been streaming in some leagues. So Jackson was losing out on a lot of playing time. He'll now figure things out in the minor leagues. In terms of news, closing pitcher Daniel Palencia is expected to be activated from the 60-day IL tomorrow. It was initially reported that he would be activated yesterday, but that did not end up being the case. So Friday appears to be the projected return date for Daniel Palencia. He's been out with elbow inflammation for 2 months, and he should immediately take over the closer role in Chicago, if not after a week or so, once he's eased into action. And lastly, reliever Tony Santillan is expected to be activated from the 15-day IL tomorrow. He's missed about 2 months with an oblique strain, and he will be a top setup man for Reds closer Emilio Pagan. Now we can take a look at notable performances from Wednesday, a day in which we had a full slate of 15 games. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with first baseman Ben Rice, who helped the Yankees to win in Baltimore, going 2 for 5 with a run, a home run, and an RBI. It was his 34th home run of the year, and it traveled 447 feet at 110 miles per hour, making it the furthest hit ball of the day on Wednesday. Rice is tied for 5th in Major League Baseball with 34 home runs, and he's really lived up to all the hype this year. He's dominated at the plate while maintaining catcher eligibility and finding his way into the lineup at first base and DH to maximize his at-bats. Rice actually hasn't played any catcher this year, so he'll lose that eligibility for next year, but he's proven to be one of the best power hitters in baseball, making him someone that's worth rostering even as a first base only guy. Next, we've got catcher Rafael Flores Jr., who helped the Pirates to win against the Tigers, going 2 for 2 with 2 runs, 2 home runs, and 2 runs batted in. He's up to 6 home runs now. The first one went 422 feet at 106 miles per hour, and the second one went 431 feet at 110 miles per hour. And we sort of got a theme going in the hitter section here, as we've got catcher-eligible players who get into the lineup elsewhere to maximize their offensive potential. I've been linking Rafael Flores Jr. in my head with Eduardo Valencia of the Tigers. They're both guys who aren't necessarily top prospects or future everyday catchers, but they have forced the hands of their teams to get into the lineup because of impressive raw power and hot starts to their 2026 campaigns. Flores has gotten off to an incredible start with an 1140 OPS in his first 19 games this year after he appeared in just seven games last year. But the power from Flores has been eye-catching, especially as he topped out at just 22 home runs in the minors. Nothing to scoff at, but not like unreal power that makes you really excited about a player getting called up. And it seems as though he's been a little lucky with his ability to hit home runs. He has barreled 21% of his batted balls, which is absolutely elite, but that hasn't come with the big max exit velocities or average exit velocities that you expect to see from a player that barrels the ball so much. He did set a new max exit velocity with his second home run on Wednesday, traveling at 110 miles per hour, which sort of does back up the idea that Flores has elite raw power. We never saw a max exit velocity over 110 in the minors, though. However, the average bat speed at 74 miles per hour also does a good job of supporting the idea that Flores has elite raw power as well. So if he continues to find the barrel of his bat, all he has to do is limit the strikeouts and find a way into the lineup to be one of the best home run hitters in baseball. The Pirates are doing everything they can to get Flores into the lineup. He didn't even start yesterday, but he came in off the bench to swat 2 bombs, and I'd be picking him up in deep leagues and considering him a streamer in standard leagues, especially if I need superior catching production. Lastly, we've got catcher Mickey Gasper, who did all he could, but the Red Sox lost to the Diamondbacks. He went 1 for 3 with a run, a home run, and 3 runs batted in. It was his third home run of the year, and it traveled 407 feet at 102 miles per hour. And Gasper started getting into the Red Sox lineup when Masataka Yoshida hit the IL. He got promoted from the minors, and all he's done is rake in the 3 games since, homering in all 3 of them. Given his batted ball metrics, like a 6% barrel rate or a 36% hard hit rate, it's hardly believable that Gasper would be able to keep up this power profile, but it's certainly been fun to watch him go on the biggest heater of his career. He should get into the lineup as long as the Red Sox remain banged up, but with Roman Anthony on the verge of returning, I'd expect Gasper to see a downturn in playing time moving forward, but he may be hard to deny from the lineup if he keeps hitting like this. Regardless, he's not someone that needs to be rostered unless you want to ride this unlikely hot streak. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Wednesday, check out the daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Parker Messick, who did all he could, but the Guardians lost to the Giants. He tossed 6 2/3 innings, allowing 6 hits and 1 run, walking nobody while striking out 10. He induced 19 whiffs with 36% CSW across 98 pitches, and Messick earned the golden goal as he tied for the gallows pole with those 19 whiffs and earned the King Cole by leading baseball with his 36% CSW on Wednesday. Giants hitters could not handle Messick's heater, which isn't overly impressive at 94 to 95 miles per hour, but the four-seamer sat in the zone over half of the time and missed 15 bats for 42% CSW and a whopping 82% strikes. Messick was lucky it was so overwhelming because he was not feeling his changeup or his slider as they combined for just 54% strikes. It's not the best sign for the future, but Messick has had his secondary feel more often than not in this breakout campaign, making him an auto start in Anaheim next. Next, we've got Aaron Nola versus the Marlins. He tossed 7 innings, allowing 5 hits and 1 run, walking nobody while striking out 8, inducing 19 whiffs with 35% CSW across 100 pitches. And Nola tied with Messick for the gallows pole with those 19 whiffs on Wednesday. And it's been a rough year to say the least for Nola. He's got a 5.12 ERA and a 1.42 whip on the season, but is he finally locking in? He's got a 2.51 ERA and a 29% strikeout rate across his last 5 starts. And this was the best of the bunch as he survived 7 frames for just the second time this year while recording at least 8 strikeouts for the 3rd straight start. As usual, it was a result of curveball domination with changeup support and fastballs just looking to avoid damage. That last key wasn't really true, as his trio of fastball variants accounted for 4 of the 5 hits that he surrendered and produced the solo shot that accounted for the only run. But that speaks to the necessity for Nola to avoid damage on his fastballs. He either has to throw them harder or throw them less or throw them out of the zone. Whatever it is, he needs to avoid batters getting their barrels to those balls. But they did a good job of keeping his strike rate up to help him avoid walks, and they allowed his hook to shine for 12 whiffs, 53% CSW, and 7 strikeouts. It's hard to trust Nola after the struggles he's been through recently, mostly this year and last year, but he seems to have finally rediscovered his form, at least briefly. I'm fine starting Nola in Seattle next. Next, we've got Cade Cavalli in Texas. He tossed 6 innings, allowing 3 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 11 strikeouts to help the Nationals to win. He induced 14 whiffs with 35% CSW across 84 pitches. And Cavalli has been so dope this year, and he just seems to get better as the season wears on. That's back-to-back scoreless outings with double-digit strikeouts for Cavalli, and he showcased his highest curveball velocity of the year, sitting a ridiculous 88 miles per hour with the hook, as it combined with the slightly variant sweeper for 8 whiffs and 41% CSW. He sort of gets on the side of that curveball, which makes it become a sweeper. I don't think it's truly a different pitch. I think just when he's facing right-handed batters, he's looking to get the pitch more away from them. So he gets on the side of the ball more and creates a little bit more sweep on the curveball. But to me, it's still the same pitch. And in concert with his 97 mile per hour four-seamers actually sitting upstairs for once, sinkers staying low, and cutters, which weren't really thrown enough for my liking, but more importantly, the trio of fastball variants combined for 76% strikes to limit walks and keep Cavalli consistent. He started off pretty slow, but his last 22 starts have produced a 3.07 ERA, a 1.14 whip, and a 28% strikeout rate. Those are ace numbers. And I don't want to say I called it because I didn't expect Cavalli to introduce a cutter or find extra velocity this year, but boy, did I call it in the preseason. It's all systems go with Cavalli hosting the Rockies next. Lastly, we've got Jose Urquidy, who helped the White Sox to win on the north side of Chicago, tossing 6 innings, allowing 2 hits and no earned runs, walking nobody while striking out 8. He induced 8 whiffs with 41% CSW across 68 pitches. Urquidy had an opener in this one, and he caught my eye with some decent stuff in bulk relief last time, but it was nowhere near as successful as he was on Wednesday, where he dominated the Cubs. He interestingly went away from his four-seamer and instead leaned on sinkers to steal a bunch of called strikes, 9 of them to be exact, as the heater racked up 45% CSW without a single whiff, thriving in the zone for a bonkers 90% strikes on the sinker, while changeups and curveballs fell to the bottom of the zone to induce 4 whiffs and 3 strikeouts apiece. It took an unsustainable 73% put away rate for Urquidy to rack up 8 strikeouts, and it took 9 outs on 11 balls in play for him to produce 6 shutout frames, making it difficult to believe that Urquidy could repeat this performance, but it does make him someone to consider in leagues where starts are limited, making him sort of free points when he's pitching in bulk relief. If he's setting himself up for wins pitching in bulk relief like he did on Wednesday, it could be very solid hosting the Rangers next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Wednesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Kodai Senga worked around a run for his 4th save. Yoendrys Gomez recorded his 20th save with a perfect 9th. Grant Taylor pitched a hitless 9th for his 7th save. Yohan Duran recorded his 28th save with a scoreless 9th. David Bednar pitched a perfect 9th for his 29th save. Dylan Smith had a scoreless 6-out save, his 3rd of the year. Emilio Pagan worked around a 2-run home run for his 16th save. Brian Baker recorded his MLB leading 36th save with a perfect 9th. Andres Munoz also had a perfect 9th for his 23rd save. Josh Hader recorded his 18th save with a hitless 9th, and Tanner Scott also recorded his 18th save with a perfect 9th. And in terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Kenley Jansen served up 2 solo shots in the 9th inning to blow his 5th save and take his 5th loss. Mason Montgomery pitched a scoreless 9th with the Pirates trailing by 1, and he earned his 5th win when they walked it off in the bottom half. Aroldis Chapman pitched a hitless 9th in a tie game that the Red Sox would lose in 10 innings. Cade Smith pitched a perfect 9th with the Guardians trailing by 1. Steven Cruz allowed a 2-run home run pitching the 9th inning up by 4 after the Royals added on a bunch of runs in the 8th inning to ruin Cruz's save chance. Jordan Romano pitched a perfect 9th in a tie game that the Rockies would end up losing in 10 innings. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's daily articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Thursday, August 20th, a day in which we'll have just 9 games on our slate. My matchup of the day is Garrett Cole versus Kyle Bradish. We got an intra-division battle here. Garrett Cole is looking to recover his ace form. I haven't quite seen it consistently from him. We really want to see those 4-seamers getting upstairs and the sliders landing low and glove side. So I'll be looking for that. Whereas Kyle Bradish has really not gotten me confident recently. He's not racking up a bunch of strikeouts. He has not had the feel for both of his breakers at the same time, which has made it difficult for him to avoid the damage on his heaters. So I'm looking for him to find the feel for both his curveball and his slider at the same time simultaneously here in the start versus the Yankees. In terms of probable starters, we've got 3 guys in the auto starts tier, including Garrett Cole. We've also got Gavin Williams versus the Giants and Jacob deGrom versus the Nationals. Our probably starts tier has 4 guys, and our questionable starts tier has 5, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day, Engage Jump in Kansas City. He's been very up and down after a hot start this year, but pitching outside of Sacramento really sets him up for success. He's got a great fastball. If he's able to throw it for strikes and keep it upstairs, while at least finding the zone a little bit with his slider, he should do pretty well in Kansas City. The strikeout ceiling is very much worth chasing. I'd also keep an eye out for Robert Gasser versus the Mariners. The Mariners lineup has not been scary this year. Gasser has been pretty solid, if not unspectacular, but if he's got a changeup working, which he's not had often this year, he could really dominate. But regardless, he should be pretty safe starting here versus the Mariners as long as that fastball lands upstairs. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd look at Cardinals and Reds hitters in Great American Ballpark. It's one of the best hitters parks in baseball. We'll see Michael McGreevy square off against Brady Singer in that one. And lastly, I target Astros hitters versus Grayson Rodriguez in Daikin Park, as Gray Rod has a 7.17 ERA on the year. Now we can close things out with our relievers to watch. Grant Taylor has pitched on back-to-back days, so one of the other members of the closer committee for the White Sox should get an option: Sean Newcomb, Brian Hudson, or Jordan Hicks. And lastly, David Bednar has pitched on back-to-back days and in 3 of the past 4. Brent Hedrick, Paul Blackburn, and Fernando Cruz have all pitched on back-to-back days as well. Cruz has thrown the least amount of pitches, but Tim Hill has filled in as the ninth inning guy from time to time. He's got 2 saves this year, so I'd expect Tim Hill to step up for the Yankees if a save situation arises on Thursday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler, where I do daily SP streamers and I break down every single start via the Pitcher List Stats player cards. Tune into YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. Carson Picard will be with you tomorrow and throughout the weekend. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.